This is an answer key for the number strand unit review for grade 5. And so we're going to go through the answers to the questions, follow along on your answer sheet and see what you got, and make sure you pay attention if you got the question wrong. So write 578,102 as a numeral. So, and I apologize for any blurriness, but 578,102 looks like this. 578,102. The next one, so if this symbol equals 1, which diagram shows 3.8, so we need 3 of these first of all. So it's going to be either this one or this one. And then we need 0 of the lines like that, and then 8 dots. So not this one, it is this one. Because if this is 1, then we need a tenth of it to be this one, and then a tenth of that to be this one. So one little dot right here equals 8 in this situation. Write this in words. So this is 14,026. So 14,026. If you put the word "and" right there, it's wrong. Don't put "and" there, because that technically that would mean 14,026. That's what it would mean in our math program. Next question. There are 23 students in the class. Each student sold 38 boxes of chocolates. About how many were sold? About is your key, because about means that you are estimating. So we're rounding each of these numbers. So 23, 3 is 4 or less, so we let the 2 rest. It's 20. The 38 rounds up because 8 is 5 or more, so it raises the score of this one to 40. And this is a multiplying question because 23 students are selling boxes of chocolates, so each one is selling this. So you multiply 2 times 4 is 8, giving the answer away, and then plop both of these zeros at the end, bloop, bloop, and so 800 is about 800 were sold. Next on the second page here, we've got what is the quotient of 232 divided by 4? So that's just asking you to divide. So we've got a 4 and 232. So 4 does not go into 2 at all. We can put a 0. And then it just bumps into the next number here, which is 23. So if we go 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. We can't go to 24, so we go 5 times with 3 left over. So we bring the 3 over beside the 2, it turns into 32. Then we skip count by 4 until we get to 32, or as close as we can without going over, which gets us to 8. And there is no remainder, so our answer is 58. Next, write 3 fractions that are equivalent to 4/5. So 4 over 5, and then you're just multiplying. You could even just double. Lots of you will double. So double 4 is 8, double 5 is 10, double 8 is 16, double 10 is 20, and then double 16 is 32, double 20. Wait, what did I do wrong here? Oh, 40, that's right. I was almost going to write the wrong answer. Okay, so then these are all equivalent answers. You could have a lot of other answers as long as you multiply this number and this number by the same thing. So in this case, I multiplied that by 2. In this case, I multiplied that by 4, and this by 8. Okay, you could have times by 3, times 5, 6, 7, it doesn't matter. You could times by 100 if you wanted, as long as you multiply both the top and the bottom by the same number. Okay, the next, order the following numbers from least to greatest. So the smallest number is going to be this one. followed by this one, and you're looking where are the zeros, and then if there's only numbers here, this makes it the smallest, and as you move this way, the numbers get bigger. So you really have to pay attention to place value. This is 3, this is 4, and this is 5. You could write it like this, you could write it out. Just for the purposes of time in this video, I'm just going to leave it like that. But this is the smallest, 0 and 004 is how you'd say that. Or 4 thousandths, you could say that. Like that too. And then this one, then this one, then this one, and then finally 543 and 07. So if you're having trouble with this, kind of think of it as money. This one's harder to think of as money, but think like $2.45. It's more than 34 cents, and so on. Yeah. So what quantity is shown by the underlined digit? So right here, it's asking for place value. So this is hundreds, tens, ones, tenths with a THS at the end. This is hundredths with a THS at the end. This is thousandths. So 600ths. That's what it is. What is this in fractional form? 0 and 75. 0 and 75. Like this. 75 over 100. It has to be over 100 because there are 2 places here, so there needs to be 2 zeros underneath. On to page 3. We've got write 3 equivalent fractions for the shaded area. Make at least 1 equivalent fraction smaller than the original fraction. So to make it smaller, you would have these pieces. So here's 1 piece, and then 2 pieces, and 3 pieces. So that would be 1 out of 3. There's our smaller one. If you didn't get that, that's okay. But yeah, and then we could just do the regular one. 1, 2, 3 out of 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then we just need 1 more. We can multiply this by 2. We could double this. It doesn't really matter. If we were to double this, we would have 6 over 18. There's multiple answers, but as long as it equals to this, if you multiply this number and this number by the same thing, and you get the same, or this number and this number by the same thing and get the answer, then you're right. This one, we use the 0 crossing off method. So a million has 6 zeros in it, and then a $10 bill has just 1 0. So in this case, we're crossing off the same amount of zeros in each number until there's only 1 left, and then what's left over is our answer. Oops, that kind of went through. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros now, which makes it 100,000. So you would need 100,000 $10 bills to make $1 million. Okay, next is write this number in standard form. So you're replacing the number with the 1, and then that's the place value. So you look at this number to see how many digits it's going to have, the number. It's going to have 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2 goes in the 5th place, or the 1st place, whatever. I'm going to call it the 5th place. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 8 goes in the 4th place, 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 goes in the 1, 2, 3, 3rd place, 1, 2, 3. 3 goes in the 1st place, and then if I have anything left over, it's a 0. So my number is 28,503. Next one, class at school is selling raffle tickets. 7 students have already sold 425 tickets. About how many tickets did each student sell? So you are rounding here. And if you can, look at this number here, the front 2 numbers, and see if that's something that 7 can multiply into, which 42 can multiply from 7, because 6 times 7 is 42. So I'd round 42 to this, divided by 7. Now I look at 7 divided by 42 is 6, and put a 0 after. So about how many tickets did each student sell? Each student sold about 60 tickets. On to the next page for question 14. We've got school buses will carry 80 students on a field trip. Each bus can hold a maximum of 32 students. How many school buses can be used? So this really, skip counting is going to be your best bet. Technically, you're dividing 80 divided by 32. But if you just go, okay, one bus is 32. One bus can hold 32. What can two buses hold? Well, like add 32 to 32, which would be 64. That's not enough to hold 80 students, so we need another bus for sure. So 64 plus 32, so 4 plus 2 is 6, and 6 plus 3 is 96. So 96 seats that can hold 80 students. So that means that we need, 3 buses is our answer. Number 15, show how to use the halving and doubling strategy for multiplying this. So halving and doubling means that you take half of one number and double the other and then multiply. So since we can't really take half of 5, we're going to double it. It's going to turn 10, which means that 140 needs to be halved, which would be 70. Because 14 divided by 2 is 7. Just plunk the 0 in front. Now we can go 70 times 100. That's way easier to do in our head. That's 700 instead of this. And that's the whole purpose of that. So, yeah, that's how you show that. Because it says show. So you have to write the number 70 times 10 equals 700. Then use expanded form to show how to solve 653 divided by, or times 9. Remember, this is where I showed you how to make the butts, adding the butts together. Remember, they looked like butts because you put X's in them, and they kind of look like butts. Then you break 653 apart into its expanded form, and then so you put 600 here, 50 here, and 3 here. So on the left butt cheek gets one of each of those numbers. On the right butt cheek each gets 9. And then you just solve. So 6 times 9 is 54. And then the 2 zeros. Plus 5 times 9 is 45. Oh, just the 1 0, not 2 zeros. Plus 3 times 9 is 27. And then you add that together. And keep in mind, you should be using pencil. I'm only using pen because it's easier to see on the video. Pencil is kind of hard to see on video. 4 plus 4 is 8 and 5. So this is how you show it, and then that would be our answer. Which of the following addition equations have compatible numbers? So compatible numbers means that when you add the ones digits together, it equals 10. It's compatible because that means it's easy to do in our head. So 5 plus 3 is 8. Nope. 8 plus 2 is 10. Yep. Any others? 9 plus 0 is 9. Nope. 4 plus 2 is 6. Nope. So B is our answer. On to the next page. We've got 18. Which of the following sets of fractions are equivalent? So now you're looking at trying to make one of the fractions exactly the same as the other fraction by either multiplying or dividing. When you have two fractions with the same denominator, bottom number, and different numerators, that means that it's not equivalent. When you have something like this, you can think, what can I multiply 5 by to get 20? That's times 4. So if I made an equivalent fraction, 1 times 4 is 4. 4 twentieths is not the same as 5 twentieths, so not that one. Just moving down here, we've got a 3 and a 3, but the bottom numbers are different, so it can't be. So that leaves us with this one, which if we were to convert each of these into an equivalent fraction, we could make all of them have the same thing. You can ask me about that if you want to see it, but video is getting kind of long, so we're going to skip it. 19, order the following fractions from least to greatest. So this one again, actually the easiest way to do this would be to make 4 fraction strips that are exactly the same length. Don't use the circles because they're super confusing and hard to do. So this one has to be broken into 9. First I'm going to go And you want to make the pieces as close to the same as each other as you can. So this has 9, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Mine aren't very good, but and then this is 2/3, so that one and that one colored. And then 1/4, so we have to make these a little bit smaller and color that. And then 2/5 to make these a little bit smaller again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and color those. So the least to greatest, so 1/4 is the smallest, comma in between, then that was 2/5. Then next up would be this one right here, 2/3. Oops, and then 7/9 is the greatest fraction. That's the easiest way to do that. There's different ways, but that's definitely the easiest. Next one, answer each of the following questions with either estimated amount or exact amount. Okay, so Tim Hortons worker serves many people in the morning. Does she need to know an exact number of donuts to have ready, or an estimate? She needs to have an estimate. There's no actual way, because people are not required to order donuts in advance, so they can't possibly know how many donuts they're going to actually sell, but they can estimate it based on previous sales. And then the NHL wants to determine the best goalie in the league. They are going to count goals saved. Do they need an estimated number or an exact? Well, goalies could have very similar amounts, so we're going to want an exact amount so that we know for sure which one's the best one. On to the next, we're going to add the following, and this is oh no, it's almost the last page. Add the following numbers, so we've got to put them one on top of the other, and remember we're lining up the decimals like they are buttons. So what goes on this side is 4 and a 3, and then 7, 4, 1. They line up like this. 7 doesn't have anything on top of it. We could flip them, it doesn't matter because it's adding. 3 plus 1 is 4, 5 plus 4 is 9, put my button. 4 plus 1 is 5, 2 plus 4 is 6, and 7. So there's my answer there. Then estimating, we're rounding so that there's no decimals, so we're really going to get rid of that and that. But before we can, we just need to see if we have to round up or keep it the same. 6 is bigger than 5, so it bumps the 3 up to a 4, so that's 14. The 0, we ignore the 9 because it's 0 right beside the 3. It keeps the 3 the same, so it's 43. So 14 plus 43, well, 7 plus 3. 4 plus 3 is 7. I gave the answer again. And then 4 plus 1 is 5. So my estimate is 57. And then estimate the difference. So same thing. We're getting rid of the decimals. And we're just checking to see if we have to bump it up or not. So this one we do not, because 2 is less than 5. It's 4 or less, so that lets the 6 rest. So it's 736 minus, and I'm going to put it underneath just to make sure. 8 is bumps the 3 up to a 4. There we go. And so 6 minus 4 is 2, and then these have nothing to subtract from. So my answer is 732. Subtract the following numbers. So we've got these. Now we're putting our buttons and then putting everything else in place. Make sure yours lined up like this too. Okay, and then if you got this wrong, it's probably because you didn't borrow properly. So 2 can be taken away from 3, that's 1. 4 can't be taken away from 0, so we're going to turn it into a 10 by taking 1 from the 6, turning it into a 5. Now 4 minus 10, or 10 minus 4 is 6. Put my button. 7, subtract 5, you can't do that. We're going to turn it into a 15 by borrowing from the 9, turning it into an 8. So 7 taking away from 15 is 8. And then the 8 minus 6 is 2, and 8 left over. So our answer is 828 and 61. Okay, last page here. Okay, so we've got multiply the following numbers. So this one had some multiple steps here. So 59 and 37. You want to write it like this first. Then we're focusing on the 7 and the 59. So 7 times 9 is 63. 6 goes up here, 3 down there. Then 7 times 5 is 35. Plus 6 is 41. since there's no more over here, we can write the 4 down there. Okay, so we've done the 7, multiplied it by both of those. Now we're going to the 3, but since it lines up like this, we have to put a 0 as a placeholder here, because 3 can't put anything here. You can't go that way. Anyways, so 3 times 9 is 27, so we put the 2 up here, the 7 down here. Then 3 times 5 is 15, plus 2 is 16, 17. Then we add them together. So 0 plus 3 is 3, 7 plus 1 is 8, 7 plus 4 is 11, and 1 plus 1 is 2. So our answer is 2,183. If you didn't get that answer, then make sure you rewatch this and get the process there, because this is one where you just have to remember the steps. We definitely worked on it a lot, but you might have forgotten. This one I actually find easier as a question. 468 times 3. 3 goes up underneath. It's easier because we don't have to worry about this step. We just do this step one more time. So 3 times 8 is 24. So 2 goes up top, 4 down below. Then 6 times 3 is 18, plus 2 is 20. Then 3 times 4 is 12, plus 2 is 14. So 1,404. Then we've got one last question. Divide the following numbers. So we are going to put the 6 on the outside of our our division symbol here. And then so we're thinking, okay, how many times can we skip count by 6 till we get to 4? Well, we can't, so we put a 0 up top. And we can put the 4 in front here so we remember that we've taken care of that. Now, how many times does 6 skip count into 41? Well, it's 6 times because it gets to 36, but then 37, 38, 39, 40, 41. So 5 left over. So it goes in front of the 2, turns into 52. Then how many times can we skip count by 6 till we get to 52? And it would be 8 times. 6 times 8 is 48. 49, 50, 51, 52. And you can use a multiplication chart if you need for that part, but that means there's 4 left over. There's no more numbers over here, so that turns into our remainder. So our answer is 68 remainder 4 for that. And make sure if anything really didn't make any sense that you ask me, because I can definitely help explain, but this will help you. Just prepare for your real number strand test.